my name is Gwenna Pirozzi and I am a senior in instrumental music, and I'm going to be showing you how to make a face mask. This is the final product. I've made a lot of these, and this is one that I currently have in progress. So what you're going to need is material. I'm actually using an old shirt. Anything works, pillowcases, anything that you have around. You're also going to need a pen to draw on your fabric, a ruler, some scissors. I'm using sewing scissors, which I recommend, a lot of pins, a pattern which you cut by 8.5 inches by 15 inches, and if you want to make a children's mask, it'll be about 5 inches by 11 inches. You're also going to need some elastic band. If you don't have any, you can cut your underwear, because your underwear has elastic bands on it. It'll work the same. And you'll also need a sewing iron. You'll need a sewing machine, and if you don't have a sewing machine, then you can just use a needle and thread. And finally, although it's not required, it's really useful to have an iron. Okay, so first thing that we're going to do is cut out our fabric. So I'm just laying the pattern flat here. I'm going to pin it. Okay, so now I'm just going here and tracing my pattern onto my fabric. Obviously the lines don't have to be completely exact. Once I start sewing, all the rough edges will go away. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take all the pins out, and I am done using the pattern for this mask. So you can see my outline still here. Now what I'm going to do is take my sewing scissors and cut out my pattern. Okay, so for the next part, I'm just folding it in half, and I'm going to be pinning it. I'm only going to add one pin to each side because I will be pinning it better later in a few minutes. Okay. So now we are cutting our elastic. The size of the elastic should be about 6 to 7 inches. It really depends on what you're comfortable with, because you don't want it too tight or too loose. I'm going to make this one 7 inches. I usually make them about 6.5, but I'm going to make this one 7. This is 7 inches. Okay, and I'm just measuring it against itself. Okay, now we are going back and we're going to be pinning these where we want them. They're going to be coming around here like this, but on the inside, so we're going to need to really pin them into place. That's going to be really important. Okay. do is I'm not actually going to pin them on both sides yet. I'm just going to pin it on one. Kind of feed it through until about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch above the bottom. It's nice to have it close to the bottom, and you want it sticking out just a little bit so you know and you can see it when you're actually sewing it. Oh, I lost it. Great. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now I'm just going to be pinning this a little tighter, adding a few more. Like I said, I'm not pinning the other side yet. That's going to be later once I actually get sewing. Okay, we're going to start with the same thing on the other side. Just kind of, this time I'm just going to drop it through. Just making sure it's a little bit showing. Okay, and with that, we are ready to start sewing. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to be doing is sewing this right here where we put our elastic band underneath. I'm sewing on the inside just because I have a lot of room. These masks are pretty big, so it's just... So I'm going to go a few stitches forward and a few stitches backwards just to start off. Having that just also really secures the elastic in here. Take this out now because I don't want it to get caught. Okay, so before we fully approach the top, I'm going to stop because we're going to be putting our elastic here after I do the other sides. So I'm just going to go forward and backwards again right here so we can close that off. Okay, bringing it all the way up and cutting it off. So I'm putting all of my pins on a tomato, which I'm going to keep handy for later. So, on the other side, this actually came undone while I was moving over here, so we're just going to repin that really quickly. Okay, then, same here. I'm going to go this way because I don't want the pins ever facing me or going towards me. We're going to start right below where these pins end. Just go in a straight line. And once again, we're going to do a few forward and then a few backwards. Okay, we are approaching the elastic. Gotta make sure it's straight. Okay, and reversing it. And putting it back forward. Okay. So again, just cutting off the seam. Taking out the pins again. We will use them later. Okay, so the next part is going to be a little tricky. What I'm doing is I'm pulling the elastic upwards to this part here. And I'm going to actually take out this center pin and just put my hand through and pull it up to where we want it to be. Okay, so I've taken the elastic from this sewn corner and I've just pinned it to the other corner up here, following the thread lines, and I've just put it right above. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust my pin first because it is too close. You don't want it to be too close because if you take the pin off, then it's not going to stay. The elastic won't stay. So you need to have a pin, but you have to make sure that it's not too close to what you're doing. Okay. Once again, I'm just going to go a few stitches forward and a few stitches backwards by about a half an inch, just so I can really secure it. And the elastic is secure. Now I'm going to do it on the other side too. I've already pinned it here. Pin it a little farther, it was a little close. And it is completely sewn in. So for the next part, I'm taking the unfolded side of the mask, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold from these two stitches that I've already made. I'm going to go in about 3 inches. It doesn't have to be exactly 3 inches, it's just so you can fold it outwards. You always want to make sure that your fabric is inside out when you're sewing, because it'll look a little messy once you finish, and you always want to have that on the inside. Once again, 3 forward, 3 back to start. Okay, now I'm going to go backwards here to end it. Okay, and I'm just doing that on the other side too. I'm also using very small stitch because I want everything to be really tight. So for the next part, we are flipping this inside out or right side out to the side that we will actually be wearing on the outside. It's a little tight once you just gotta stuff it through the hole that we made. I'm just smoothing it all out. Okay, and this is what it looks like so far before we make the pleats. And to make the pleats, I am going to use these lines as reference. You're going to want to fold down, making sure that the sides are even. This corner is a little folded, but once I unfold it, it'll all be very even. So I like having these lines because I can just make sure that they are connected. I'm going to actually bring this up a little higher. I made it a little too short. So it's good. This is good. I gotta make sure that my lines are even. Okay, now let's go iron it. Okay, so I'm just gonna iron it. Iron the center. Once the center's ironed, I know that it will stay, so I'm going to take out the side pins one at a time and iron them down. Take out the other side. Just iron it down. Oh, let me make sure this is flat. Okay. Okay, and we are done with the iron. Okay, I'm back at the sewing machine and I am adding pins to each side so I can hold down my pleats when I sew the final step. I'm going to take this side first and I'm going to go very close to the edge. And once more, a few forward, a few stitches backwards, and then go all the way. Taking out the pin for the other side, and I'm ready to sew the final side. Thread is a little knotted. Okay, the final step, you can just take scissors, any scissors will work, and to just trim off the excess threads. The reason we add the pleats is that so your mask can fully extend. And voila, we are finished. We can use the unsewn part at the bottom to insert a filter if you want. And this is what it's going to look like. Ta-da!